AI is being linked to the government's efficiencies programme. What practical changes might the public expect to see as a result of this office?
I think, as we've said, this is very much building on the foundations of what already exists. I think some areas have probably been more visible to the public than others. So the Activate AI piece we've been quite public about in demonstrating what that is. I think with the government efficiencies programme, part of the reason we wanted to link this with the National AI Office is because there obviously are synergies, and there is, industry often likes to see government adopt the kind of technologies which we're suggesting that they adopt as well. So it provides a really good opportunity to highlight how government is doing things, but equally AI will help create efficiencies, but not just efficiencies, but a better use of public service. So being able to kind of, we have a concept of lighthouse projects, which we'll be able to talk about publicly, not just talking around there is a project which achieves X outcome, but really talk about the journey that we're going on, what's being learned, what's worked well, what hasn't worked well, and share that with industry so that they get some experience from that, but also some confidence, and realise perhaps AI is more accessible and easier to achieve benefit with than they might have thought otherwise.
Just quickly, you spoke about AI-driven efficiencies. If that leads to fewer roles in the public service or changing job requirements in the public sector, how will that be managed transparently? I
think that's a good question, which I'd probably leave more to the efficiencies programme, because the efficiency programme still exists. It still sits, it'll sit within the National AI Office. But there's been very clear expectations set, as far as I can see, that we do want to have a more efficient public service. So of course that will mean people changing roles, maybe going to more high-value roles, and how that's managed. Again, I'm not aware of what the policy is for that yet.
And the National AI Office is backed by £1 million. One of the core objectives is to enable growth of the economy. How are you going to be measuring that when the island doesn't track quarterly GDP and productivity?
So that's a really good question, and I think we've had a lot of discussions around how we measure success. So we do have an attribution model that we've been working with for the Activate AI programme, based, in fact, we've probably been a little too conservative with that model to date. Since we created that model, it's become, there's more of a standardised version of how much productivity value you'd expect from a certain amount of training. So we do use that, appreciating it's far from perfect, but it gives us a benchmark and something that we can work from. I think when we also are working with industry to create proof of concepts, we are asking for the use cases, the benefits case as part of that, and we're tracking that as well. That will also be added now to the work that's happening internally with government on the efficiencies programme. So we have a clear view, but admittedly not 100% accurate view of what's going on. But it will be a really good indicator of our progress.
One of the aims is to support responsible and trusted AI adoption. But we have countries across the world who are unsure of how to balance oversight and regulation without discouraging innovation. Obviously, those countries have resources which go far beyond what the Isle of Man has at its disposal. Why do you think the island stands a chance at this?
So at this stage, we're not haven't committed to regulate AI. So the first step is to make sure that we've got really clear guidance, which does already exist, and we bring that into one place, make sure that guidance is consistent, clearly signposted. And then we would need to embark on a national discussion around whether we go further than that. And that will be part of the scope of what we look to achieve through a National AI Office.
It's a good question, Christian, I think. I think that's one of the reasons why it's really important we talk about the fact that this is not just about government. This is about how we work across society, and this is why this is not owned by the DFE or digital. This is very much about saying, how do we work across government to bring efficiencies? How do we bring the expertise and help business? How do we help the individual citizens on the island through education? So it's a whole. We all need to move together on this together, I think, move forward. And some of these questions will come up as we go along that journey. There's no doubt about it. And what we need to do collectively is work out how we tackle those challenges, recognising that some of them are beyond us, and that's just reality of AI, because that's just the way it is. But we do what we can, and we work together and make sure we're all on the same page.
Just a quick question. You said that this isn't about regulation. When the Chief Minister announced this, it was called the National Office for AI Development and Regulation. So is that not what it's called anymore?
Well, certainly, I think we recognise that's a part of it, because we recognise that, whereas AI is here whether we like it or not, it's all around us, and it's there, and there's parts of it we don't have control over, and that's, let's be honest, that's just the reality of the way this as an entity works. When it comes to how we adopt it in government and use it in government, and the way we understand how business want to adopt it and use it, and how the way we want to work together, then clearly we want to make sure where we can put those safeguards and guardrails in, we do that, and that will require potentially some form of future regulation. But I think it's too early to say that yet, I think.
I was just going to say, we do have obviously existing regulators on the island, and I think that they already will have a responsibility to regulate elements of this. The national question is going to be, is that sufficient, or do we want to move in a different direction? It's not just a question for us, it's a question we're seeing considered by many other jurisdictions, and they're coming up with different answers at the moment. But for me, the priority has got to be to make sure there's clarity and certainty around the environment we have on the Isle of Man for people to operate in, and we'll take it from there.
Some of the priorities for the National AI Office in its first year are things that are not new. We've seen them before, and they are delayed. For example, the National AI Strategy. That was in the Department for Enterprises 2024 Department Plan. The 2025 Department Plan, again, hasn't been delivered, and now we're being told it will be a job for the National AI Office and could take up to a year to develop. We know that Deloitte has also been tasked with pulling together some of the preliminary work. What would you say to people that might think, well, this whole National AI Office is a means of shifting accountability away from yourselves?
I don't think that we have shifted accountability away from ourselves, because digital is still leading on that piece of work. The concept of a National AI Office actually came out of a workshop we had around the National AI Strategy, and that was with industry as well as across government departments. And the clear ask coming out of that, in fact, the unanimous, was we should create a National AI Office to make sure there's more centralisation, more coordination across all of this. So we paused the work we were doing on the AI strategy to get that delivered. That's why there's been a bit of delay to the AI strategy, and then it's aligning through the work to make sure that we get that delivered this year.
And obviously the National AI Strategy would presumably have to go before Tynwald. It seems unlikely that would be ready before this Parliament is dissolved. So it would be a new administration that would be effectively approving that. There could be considerable amendments. What might you say to someone who says a lot of this work may be undone later down the line?
I don't think that'll be the case, because I think, the main thing is what we're doing is we are tackling the challenges that exist today around AI, and we recognise this is a fast-moving place and space, and that's what we're doing. So what I would like to do and say to that is, we do what we can moving forward, the best we can, working across government, working with business, understanding the challenges and taking that forward. Like you say, what another administration decides to do, we can't say, but I would like to think whatever it is, what we do, that we are building the foundations and moving it forward. If they want to take slightly different tacks on it, because let's face it, Chris, in a few months' time, there might be very different views in certain areas in this space, because it moves so quickly. And I think that's one of the things where we have to remain agile and to change, and government can't do that on its own. We have to be really listening and working across society really on this if we are to take this forward properly.
Thank you for making it to the end of the Manx Radio newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.